is sovereign. And so it should remain. So my key question to the Minister, and I would be grateful, I've known him for years, he's a decent man, if he would take the trouble to answer this very specifically in his wind-up, otherwise I'll intervene on him. My key question is this: could these amendments even potentially allow the World Health Organization to put this country into lockdown without our approval, yes or no? Thank you, Damon.
Well, welcome back.
So this is the point. So Dr. John Campbell has really closely covered this parliamentary debate that was obtained by Dr. Tess Lowry. I'm quite disappointed because I wrote to my own MP, and I wrote to Bridgen MP, and I wrote to Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, as well, at number 10. And I posted on Dr. Tess Lowry's Twitter as well about this. The point being that all these ministers who have spoken, all these respectable members of the House who have spoken, and these gentlemen all seem to be on the side of Dr. Tess Lowry and Andrew Bridgen and Dr. Campbell in this debate. They all appear to be on the same side and opposed to the World Health Organization. This guy here.
Welcome back.
Mr. Danny Kruger MP. We've got Danny Kruger MP, and then we've got Sir Christopher Chope as well. But all of them, I mean, in the Christmas Doctor Who, right, and this is relevant to mention because, you know, the writer of Doctor Who is putting things into the programme that is actually relevant to what is happening now. They've got this, they got the TARDIS on fire inside, you know, as if it, and it's amusing because, you know, the protagonist and his partner, it almost makes you think of Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner, because she's got the same hairdo as Rayner, and when they jump out of the TARDIS because it's on fire, it's almost like the chamber in Parliament being on fire, and then they come out with these lines going, can you appreciate the gravity of the situation, really sarcastically. That's exactly what is going on in this debate. Can you appreciate the gravity of the situation? Because it is a ridiculous situation, but despite all of these very intelligent and reasonable points that are raised by these men, and, you know, let us count how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are about 6. There are about 6 speakers that they've got covered in these few conversations here, right? All of them have got good points about the World Health Organization. All of them have got legitimate reservations and reflections to add. But the guy that I just recorded then, who put the ultimatum, he literally just, you know, he's put an ultimatum.
Are you a busy executive?
The ultimatum by Mark Francois. Mark Francois's point is an ultimatum, which is yes or no. Can the World Health Organization even do it? Can they even override Parliament's authority? Are they even allowed to do it? But the points that he raised, that point not on the legislation that I actually raised, but on another act. The act that I raised, which is a 1700 Act of Settlement, the last paragraph of it, says that the MPs and the Lords and the King can't. They're not allowed to stand by and fail to act to protect the rights and sovereignty. It's, in fact, it says it could possibly be, or I think it is, unlawful, illegal to fail to act to protect the rights. That means that if you did not intervene in the World Health Association, then you will be committing an offence, treason against the people. Now, then you're looking at appreciating the gravity of the situation, because that means that the entire House of Commons may be in contempt of Parliament, in treason to the country. And what's concerning is that we've only got a few good men here, 6, who are actually coming in to bother turning up to debate it. That means that the majority of Parliament who haven't bothered to turn up and that seem to be interested could be potentially in contempt of Parliament for failing to act. And out of these guys who actually are fighting for the sovereignty and rights, none of them have explicitly or specifically mentioned or raised the point of the 1700 Act of Settlement that it cannot actually be done. They're not allowed to do it. One MP asked the question, can they do it? But based on another act, on another legislation, not on the one that I raised, that would actually render it that even if these 6 men, okay, they are actually acting to attempt to defend the rights, they're not failing to act, but they're not pointing out that they themselves and the other members of the House, even if they, if they're not actually saying that, oh, by the way, if we allow the World Health Organization to do this, we're breaking the law, right? And who is going to allow the World Health Organization to do it? Then they're referring to, they don't even seem to know whose responsibility it is, which department, whether it's civil servants, whether it's the health department, whether it's the foreign affairs department. And then they're even starting to say that it's some civil servants who do the negotiations and make the rules up, not elected ministers or members of the cabinet. Now, if our MPs aren't allowed to give our sovereignty up, who's exactly making the decisions? It seems ridiculous. So never mind appreciating the gravity of the situation. I mean, I'm starting to... Who's in control of this government? Who are these civil servants running the government, doing negotiations with foreign entities? Yet our MPs have got to act. Why aren't the other MPs coming in? Do they not know about it? Do they not understand? This is the point. And there are a few... some of these guys did make some good points, right? The main point, though, is that, one of them at least raised the question, can they actually do it? Which, yes or no? Which, thank God, one of them actually kind of hit the nail on the head, but not with the right hammer. Basically, with the wrong act. Because if he'd hit it with the other hammer, then he might have been knocking all his colleagues out, which are only people who are defending us. But not one of them, not one of these 6 good men even raised any of these points which I've got, which is this, right? How does a democracy even function through its existing law and legislation if a foreign entity overrides your right to do anything and then starts telling you what you can and can't do, right? How do you uphold the law? In the lockdown, the police were going around, enforcing the law on people, but we've got the right to enforce the law. If you aren't allowed to leave your house, or if you aren't allowed to, walk in the street, how can you report a theft? How can you report a break-in? How can you detain someone? How can you exercise the law? What happens if you haven't paid your phone bill and your telephone line doesn't work and you haven't got any credit on your phone? What happens if you get attacked in your house? How can you leave your house? You might say, oh, don't be silly, that's an emergency. Well, they're saying that they can override and tell you what to do in potentially any situation. If there's a virus out, and we're all locked inside that, we might not be allowed outside. They might say everyone has to stay in, right? What happens if you're being attacked? And don't say, oh, well, that's ridiculous. We're talking about, how can you exercise basic legal function, and then it comes down to the right to petition. If you want to oppose it, how do you go around knocking door to door to collect signatures? Just basic functions, and that is the most protected thing out of everything that they can't override. The right to do it in paper. It's almost like them saying, oh, we're going to ban wood-burning stoves, but everyone has to be on electricity. What happens if you can't afford a phone service? What happens if you can't pay a phone bill? What happens if you want to collect signatures to oppose a local council on something? You're not allowed to leave the house. What happens if you haven't paid your internet connection? How can you actually physically do it? You can't. So that means, what happens if you want to object to some building or planning? You actually just can't function. They're actually locking. It would be taking away absolutely every basic thing that functions in normality, which is absolutely insane to consider. But this is what they're claiming. It goes, and then you've got how about this, right? Let's say, right, someone's house, right, gets, there's a virus in the house, and let's say the World Health Organization claim that the virus is contagious and, it can't, they've got to destroy the house. Let's say, the virus can only be stopped by, burning it or something, right? What are the government going to do? Take your house off you and then burn it and then say, oh, well, we'll offer compensation. At one stage, they were saying they weren't going to offer compensation for these vaccines if they damage, the companies couldn't be sued. They were saying the companies couldn't be sued at one point. Now, what happens if they say, oh, your house has got a virus, we'll have to burn it all, incinerate it, Now, in the Petition of Right, this is passed on from Magna Carta into the Petition of Right. This is one of the clauses from Magna Carta that legitimises it because it's in another act from the the Petition of Right. It says that, no one shall be depossessed of their house or any of their things except for lawful due process. So does that mean that, going to a court and having a legal representation, is going to be overridden by, it is the World Health Organization, the new due legal process? The World Health Organization have got a new lawful due process. They say anyone's house that they think is got a virus in it, they can incinerate it. What is this like? Is this some sort of crematorium or something like, the Auschwitz or something, lining the Jews up? Oh, what happens if they say, there's a virus unleashed, in Scotland or wherever, and it cannot be destroyed except from burning it, this particular virus. Then we have to burn everyone's houses. I know that's a bit far-fetched, but potentially, right? And then, the government will compensate you. But I don't want compensation. I don't want my house burned down. Well, we'll just take it. This is almost like the war. There's Plymouth. Bye-bye. The Germans are coming with some bombs. Bye-bye. Is there anything we can do to save this town? No, tough. Plymouth's going now. Level it. Flatten it. There's a virus in Birmingham. Oh, what a shame. We'll have to flatten it and level it, incinerate it all. Oh, don't worry, we'll build back better. It's starting to get to the stage where, I've got a virus in my pocket. Oops, I spilled it on the floor. Oh, sorry, it's Putin. Oh, my bad, my fault. But tough, we'll have to incinerate the whole town. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Well, you know, we'll have to do it now. Oh, sorry, I'll put mine. Oh, it's my fault, I'm sorry. Oh, he's a very naughty man, Mr. Putin. This is it. It potentially, I won't put it past him. This is the thing. I wouldn't put it past him. Oh, it was an accident. Oh, what a shame. Now I'll have to incinerate everywhere. This is it. You don't have to depossess all your houses from you because of a vaccine spill. Oh, but it was an accident. Well, it doesn't matter whether it was an accident or not. If the World Health Organization say they got to incinerate everywhere, it doesn't matter whether it was an accident or not. This is the thing. With these virus leaks and so forth, right? If this World Health Organization deem that, it is a virus and there is no other way to deal with it except, let's say incineration, right? Let's just say that. If they deem that, and if that is the only solution, notice that it doesn't matter if it was an accident or not. Because, even if Putin has to, even if it was an accident or whether Putin did it on purpose, wouldn't matter. This is what I've said about, Senator Rand Paul. He's after going after Fauci. Oh, let's get Dr. Fauci on trial. It's all his fault. Let's blame him. But it doesn't matter because it was done. So you're only getting retribution. You're only getting once it's done, it's done. When you get onto these virus issues and global dangers, it doesn't matter whether or not someone does it on purpose or not. If they've done it, because once they've done it, and and then once the deed is done, then this World Health Organization can just call what it wants. It seems, therefore, it's almost like, it doesn't matter where the blame is. It's like, there's once a trigger, it doesn't matter who pulls a trigger. The fact is that a trigger's being pulled, and then if this world organization kicks in, then it's unstoppable. That's, that means that, there's no liability because, it doesn't matter who did it or for what reason, And that's dangerous because, it means that it doesn't matter who started the war. It doesn't matter who's got the guns, and it doesn't matter what the reason is. If the World Organizations say that there's a threat or there's a danger, then they're dictating, everything that's got to be done about it, whether we like it or not. The trigger's been pulled, And really, I think that their commands, their orders are the danger. It's kind of almost like a mousetrap, isn't it? It's really set up to spring the mousetrap. It doesn't matter who pulls it. The fact is that once it's set up, it's set up. It doesn't matter what the trigger for the World Health Organization is, what virus it is, what reason it is, who did it or why, or whether it was an accident or not, or what chemical it is or what virus it is. It's this thing they've got set up that, once it's been tripped and triggered, then apparently there's nothing you can do about it. This is the thing. This is why I don't like it. And for that reason, I mean, you can't. It's actually claiming, they're trying to make out that, everything has to come to a halt, that you can't even, you don't even have a right to enforce the law. I mean, that's ridiculous because what if they claim a lockdown, what happens if, everyone, what happens, right? How about this, right? I think they've probably explored this idea already. In Doctor Who, for these Christmas specials, and they're all over this theme, they've got all the public going mad and going crazy in the streets, right? What happens if, a virus gets unleashed that sends everyone angry or crazy? Just for example, right? What happens if some, virus or something gets into the air or whatever, and it starts making people attack each other, right? And then, the World Health Organization will lock everyone down. How do you're not allowed to enforce the law or protect yourself, or anything like that, or detain them or arrest them. What happens if, the thing is, right, with that example, what happens if you can't comply with what their requirements are? What happens if, like on the Thunder Cats, on that episode of the Thundercats, when they've got all those beast men, when they've got that gas and they all turn angry? What happens if everyone turns angry or something, and everyone starts attacking each other? You're not going to be able to lock each other down. They'll just ignore it, so we're pointless. I mean, what happens if you've got loads of laws in place? You're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. But what happens if the disease was that no one complied with anything, or that everyone just went starkers and attacked each other? Then it won't matter what the law is. So that's a complete and total failure anyway, unless you've got all these motion detectors and stuff outside and sensors in the houses, and your mobile phones watching you, and this is it. I mean, you don't know what potential could be with bioweapons and warfare. God knows what's coming out of labs in Russia. This is just an example. I mean, none of this stuff has been explored by the MPs. It's just, I don't think that these World Health Organization things are practical. I mean, just look at all those anthrax. Anthrax is quite a dangerous disease, and there was lots of frozen anthrax. Loads of deer and animals that have got anthrax, and it got frozen, and it's still frozen, and then sometimes like it thaws, and then it ends up defreezing, and the anthrax gets back out into the environment after being frozen, and then starts spreading again. Stuff like that. There've always been dangerous and contagious diseases. I mean, we've been through the Black Plague. I don't. There's just too many dangers that the human race has overcome, like the Ice Age. Volcano eruptions in Pompeii. People have, used initiative and intelligence to overcome these problems for whatever they are. I don't think you need this World Health Organization taking up empirical globalist powers to start dictating to everyone what you can and can't do. And a couple of these points that these MPs made, or one of the MPs was making some points, was that essentially what he was saying is that, when you've got a problem, it's better for there to be lots of different people working on it and creativity, because, then you've got the diversity of different possible potential solutions, rather than just, one solution from one organisation, and that's what everyone's got to do. When there's lots of different people trying out different things, you find out what works best, and then people can take up initiative on that and just see that if it's working, and then everyone adopts it out of common sense or out of volunteer. I mean, maybe if some of the people who do the wrong thing or the bad thing, they might suffer the consequences of that. But usually, with the modern communication we've got, I think that people can figure out what is working and so forth. It's better to. What happens if the World Health Organization? Put it this way: it's a lot better if the World Organization make the wrong move or do the wrong thing, then we're all fucked. Whereas then if there's multiple people working on different ideas, and some of them are better and some of them aren't, at least the ones who do the worst ideas, then only they suffer and not everyone, rather than if the World Health Organization makes the wrong move, then we all suffer, But there are actually when you actually, this is the Irish government. Oh no, when you think about it, really we make, when you think about it, when you actually think about it, it isn't actually compatible with the country. The entire idea of this World Health Organization is not compatible with any of the British legislation, statutes, or principles at all whatsoever, which is why it is illegal. And the main point out of all this is that the ministers are breaking the law if they fail to protect those rights. And that means that even these 6 as well, although they're attempting, but they're not, I don't think they're reminding, why aren't they saying, why aren't the other MPs turning up? They're all breaking the law because they're not, they're failing to act, or they're just let us sort it out. Apparently they were intending to just ignore it, There was something else as well that I just wanted to say, I forgot. There's another point as well. I can't remember. But, essentially, I think that they're breaking the law if they don't act